Secrets can destroy, but truth can set us free. May we have the strength to confront our fears and the courage to speak our truth. When children make mistakes, you shouldn't be too harsh on them. When you discipline them with one hand, always draw them closer with the other. In the small village of Nazaza, there lived a young lady named Noma with her parents and siblings. Mr. Eze, Noma's father, was a carpenter, while her mother, Uchechi, fried akara every morning in the village square. The villagers loved buying akara from Uchechi because it was tasty and neatly made. They were once a happy, disciplined, and respected family until an unexpected event occurred. Noma, a 16-year-old, vibrant, elegant, and beautiful teenager, is in senior secondary school. She, trying to explore her youth with her peers, went against the family's standards and the foundation laid by her parents. Before she could understand anything else, she had already started feeling weak, sleeps all day, and lazy to handle her usual household chores. Suddenly, it progressed to vomiting and stomach aches. Uchechi watched her closely and observed the sudden changes in her appearance. She muttered, "What? Don't tell me you're pregnant, Noma." Immediately, she called Mr. Ize's attention to the situation. Both of them questioned Noma thoroughly. "What happened, Noma?" Mr. Ize shouted. Noma, crying, couldn't utter a word. "Just tell us the truth. Who is responsible for this pregnancy?" Uchechi asked. Noma said it was a corps member at their school. The parents quickly took her to the corps member's lodge, only to find out that he had already completed his service year and traveled back home. Mr. Ize and Uchechi couldn't bear the shame, so they disowned Noma. She couldn't continue her education and was left to care for herself and her unborn child. She picked up a cleaning job at a mall to survive. Life wasn't easy for her. Her sister Nettie saw how tough life was for Noma and decided to support her in any way she could. Noma carried the pregnancy to term, and one evening, labor started. She quickly called Nettie, who took her to the nearest health center. Nettie stayed with her all through the night until she finally delivered a bouncing baby girl. She named her baby Amaka. Some minutes after delivery, Noma faintly called out, "Nettie, my strength is failing me. I can't breathe. I'm feeling dizzy." Nettie ran out to call the nurses, who quickly came and examined her. They found out she was bleeding and couldn't be properly managed at the health center, so they referred her to the general hospital in the village. Before Nettie could get help to take her to the bigger hospital, Noma passed away. Nettie carried Amaka home to Mr. Ize and Uchechi and narrated what had happened to Noma. They all cried and blamed themselves for what happened to her. "If only we knew, we would have forgiven her and taken care of her," Mr. Ize said. Uchechi angrily said, "But I begged you to forgive her, and you said no, that she must learn her lesson. Now, see what you've caused." At this point, nobody wanted to take responsibility for what happened to Noma. This is why, when children make mistakes, you shouldn't be too harsh on them. When you discipline them with one hand, always draw them closer with the other. Mr. Ize and Uchechi, after crying for days, took Noma's body and buried her. After the burial, Nettie took the responsibility of training Amaka herself, showering her with all the love and care a mother could give to her baby. Nettie owned a hair salon that generated money for her and the baby. In the midst of this house care, Nettie owned a hair salon that generated money for her and the baby. Amaka grew up into a beautiful princess, beautifully adorned and always cheerful. Her friends at school admired Amaka and how Nettie, whom they thought was her mother, loved her. Nettie dropped Amaka off at school in the morning before going to her shop and picked her up after school. After a long time, Nettie got married to Ikechukwu. Amaka, who was 12 years old at the time, continued to live with Ikechukwu and Nettie in their new home. Ikechukwu was a civil servant who goes to work in the morning after dropping Amaka off at school, and equally picked her up after school, while Nettie had full time to focus on her hair salon shop. Years later, Nettie had a daughter, and Amaka was assisting in taking care of her little sister, Ada. They were all happily living together as one big family, but things suddenly changed. Ikechukwu began to admire Amaka and approached her, demanding that she allow him to have fun with her so he could teach her how to be a big girl. Amaka, who was already educated on the basics of sexuality by Nettie, her aunt, refused. "No, sir, this is not right," said Amaka. Ikechukwu refused to take no for an answer, threatening to stop paying her school fees and buying things for her. Amaka naively agreed to sleep with him, and he threatened her not to mention it to Nettie. "If you ever say this to anyone, I will deal with you and make sure you pay dearly for it. So better keep your mouth shut," said Ikechukwu. Nettie, being a busy woman, trusted her husband to be a perfect father figure for Amaka and Ada. Little did she know that she had willingly given a tuber of yam to a goat. Each time Amaka approached Ikechukwu for her basic needs, he would demand sleeping with her in exchange. Amaka, once a vibrant and cheerful girl, lost her smile, yet she couldn't speak up because of fear. She was scared of breaking Nettie's home, considering her little sister, Ada. Ikechukwu continued taking advantage of her for over 10 years, giving her pills to take after each encounter, even while she was in university. It wasn't until she summoned the courage to approach a counselor that the truth came out. The counselor invited Nettie over and told her what had been happening behind her back. Nettie cried, feeling she had failed as a mother. "How could this have happened right under my nose and I didn't notice it?" she asked. Amaka replied, "I couldn't bear to see you lose your marriage and Ada being raised without a father." Nettie immediately rushed to the nearby police station and reported Ikechukwu. The police arrested him and locked him up in jail. Nettie was determined to bring Ikechukwu to justice, no matter what it took, while she took Amaka for therapy. The moral lesson is that parents should always observe their children, notice sudden changes in their behavior, and check up on them at intervals, even when they're at school. Don't be too busy to monitor affairs in your home. When you discipline a child, don't reject them completely. Sit them down, educate them, and draw them closer. And always remember, the people closest to you can sometimes be the ones who hurt you the most. Be vigilant, be aware, and always trust your instincts. Dear viewers, if you've watched up to this point, I believe you've enjoyed the story. Please subscribe, like, share, and turn on notifications so you'll be notified when we upload a new video. Thank you for watching. Bye.